are going to be making Thanksgiving sides, and they are the healthier Thanksgiving sides, and some are my favorites, and others are actually something new for me as well. But when I saw it, I said, you know what, that's going to be a great alternative to inflammatory wheat and stuffing for a lot of people. So a lot of these classes is all about healthy cooking, anti-inflammatory without you even thinking about it, and giving you new ways to actually create things in the kitchen, because creating in the kitchen is also something that's fun, and we all need some fun in our life. So today I've got all sorts of things here scattered all over my counter, you know, food, more food. I have the green beans already cut up and cut the ends off. I already soaked the wild rice, because that way it'll cook a lot faster. And that might be something that we want to actually start doing, is doing turn that on so that it cooks in the next 15 minutes. But we're going to make the cranberry chutney first. Okay. So the cranberry chutney, the first thing that you got to do is measure out 1/2 cup of sugar. And you're going to put that into, I'm putting it into a big pot because I'm making quite a bit. And this cranberry chutney, I will tell you, is something that has amazing flavor. And if you put it into a mason jar, you can actually give it as gifts to your friends, or if you're going someplace to for Thanksgiving dinner, and it goes with everything. It's kind of this tart combination, tart and sweet all at the same time. So you're going to put 1/2 cup of sugar, and you're going to put 1 cup of water into the pot, and you're going to turn it on, because you want this to actually boil a little bit. Us with the gas stoves, you don't want to do it too high, because otherwise it'll overboil. So there, you're going to do 1 cup of water.
Can you repeat that, Joanna, because I lost you for a second?
1/2 cup of sugar.
Okay.
And I used organic sugar because that's what I have. Even though, right, you know, sugar's inflammatory, we're going to put some in here. So there's 1/2 cup of sugar, and you put it in the pot with 1 cup of water. And then you're going to do, my cranberries are all stuck together. The container won't open. But then you're going to do 2 bags of the fresh cranberries. I ended up getting the monster bag, because then I can use some of the cranberries. I can freeze them. I can put them in my anti-inflammatory smoothie. And I'm basically going to do 2 to 3 cups of the cranberries. And a lot of times you have to kind of sift through each one to find where some of the mushy ones are. But I think today, for the sake of time, I'm going to put in those 4 cups of cranberries. It just looks like a big bog of cranberries in the pot. So we're just going to let that simmer a little bit and let it kind of come to a boil. And in the meantime, this is where you want to get your spice bag or some cheesecloth, because you want to have a little spice bag and put in the cinnamon, the allspice, and the cloves. So it's 1 stick of cinnamon. I'm going to drop it, and then I'm going to break it in half and put it into my spice bag. And mine has been discolored to this color because of the many times I've used it for this particular recipe. It's a good thing that you can just use them over and over again. But you could just use some cheesecloth, which I failed to mention in the class or in the description. So then with you're going to do 1 stick of cinnamon, 8 cloves. I got 7, close enough. 7 whole cloves. You don't want powdered. And then there is such a thing called allspice berries. And this is what allspice berries look like. And I think we're putting 4 of those in there. Yep. Well, now I got 5. So 5
Okay.
is gonna have to be.
Gotcha.
Got a question? You have a question? So about now, you should start hearing the cranberries kind of bubbling. If you've got the electric heat, you want to actually turn that to high. If you are on a gas stove, then you can have it medium. And then I'm just gonna twist my spice bag together. This is actually one of those, and I'm gonna just put it in to the pot. And then I'm going to take that orange that we were supposed to have. And I know I have an orange someplace here. It's right here. And I'm just going to take my potato peeler. If I can find my potato peeler. And just peel 1 piece of orange zest and put that whole zest into the pot. Okay?
Yep. Joanna, I have one question. I don't have the allspice berries and I don't have the whole cinnamon. Can you add in the herbs later on? Because I have them, I have them crushed.
Well, if you add them, you could add them now, but I would just put in like a quarter teaspoon.
Yeah, just like a little bit.
Quarter teaspoon of the cloves and if you have allspice, then, and if you don't, then you'll just not have it.
Yeah, because I forgot to get the berries.
It's okay. It's one of those kinds of items that if you like this, then you'll go out and buy the berries, and then you'll have them for like the next 8
Yeah,
years.
I'll have them. Yeah.
Same thing with cloves. It's like I bought a big bottle, and you know
I have whole cloves. I just didn't have. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's easy enough. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of giving it a little bit of the spices, but not overdoing it with the spices.
Right.
So I think quarter teaspoon enough.
4.
And typically what I end up doing is I use a wooden spoon for this to kind of stir it, just to make sure that the sugar is getting into it as well. But you should start hearing the cranberries starting to pop. And I want you to actually turn the heat on underneath your rice. Shannon, did you soak your rice as well?
I did this. I soaked it this morning.
Okay. So that'll make it cook a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and let's turn that on. Let it do what it's supposed to do. Then we can do the next. Then we can add whatever needs to be added. And we'll make the Brussels sprouts last.
How many cranberries were supposed to go in this?
2 cups.
2 cups. Okay. I got 2 cups in there.
2 cups.
1 bag was like 4 cups.
But what kind of a bag did you get?
It's just a bag
Whatever
like
they
this.
sell
Did
in
you
the
get the
store.
monster bag?
This is just, it's 12 ounces, but that's 4 cups. Oh,
Usually one of those bags is enough.
no. It says 12 ounces, even though that's only 2 cups, but it measured, when
Right.
you put it in the thing, it was like 4 cups. All right, I'm just going to use the 1 bag. Never mind. All right.
I end up usually making 2 bags and forgetting about, exact numbers. But this time I'm gonna go with exact because it's supposed to be 4 cups. And then while I'm just waiting for those cranberries to pop, I don't know if you can hear yours pop yet.
Definitely not.
In there.
Pardon me? I'll just kind of show you what mine are looking like. They're just starting to pop. So it is actually boiling a little bit. And I'm gonna turn it down just a teeny bit. But this is where you'll actually start hearing the cranberries pop and break open. That's what you want to have happen. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna go find my raisins because we're gonna put a half a cup of raisins in here. Then we're gonna put a half a cup of the onions, or a small onion chopped, and then a quarter cup of celery, and a half or a whole Granny Smith apple. And because I got like a monster, look at this. I got this monster Granny Smith apple. I don't know if I'll put the whole thing in there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I'm gonna go ahead and measure out my quarter, and you can be generous with the raisins. If you end up going over, it's not gonna be a demerit.
We got lost.
Pardon me?
We got lost. Where?
I'm measuring out the raisins, which are gonna go in here. Then I cut 2 stalks of celery, and then I cut an onion, or chopped an onion. So once these cranberries actually start to simmer and pop, which should be about now, you're going to add all the chopped onion and the celery. And I know we're gonna have more onion and celery for the
There's celery right here.
for the rice too. So you're gonna put all that stuff into the pot with the cranberries.
We put anything.
Oh, here it is.
And now I'm gonna cut my half of a monster.
Where's the onion?
I didn't get that far. Here, you can put that in the other drawer.
How much onion and
What do you-
celery was this specific?
Well, so in this one, it says 1 small onion. So that's basically a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of onion. And then it's one, a Granny Smith apple, but I ended up getting a monster Granny Smith apple. In which case, I'm only going to use half of it, because otherwise it's going to be a little bit too much.
That's all the stuff for the rice.
And then, but you're going to have more celery and onions for the rice. So if you haven't cut it yet, that's fine, because neither have I. And everything is going to be as chunky as you cut it. So if you want it less chunky, you just cut everything.
What pan do we need for the rice?
Pardon me?
What pan do you need for the rice?
Well, you need a pot to cook the rice in.
Oh, that's
Then we're just going to put everything into a pan, into a big frying pan.
So are we cooking the rice now, Joanna?
Yes. I wanted you to turn the rice on so that it starts cooking.
Okay, and what are we cooking, or what liquid are we cooking it in?
Well, what liquid did you put it in when you were soaking it?
Oh, you know what? I drained that off.
Oh,
All right,
all right. No, I just left it as was. So you're
Okay.
putting in chicken broth or vegetable
All right,
broth.
you know what? Yeah, all right, I got that.
You're putting in the vegetable broth, and it's probably going to be 3/4 of a cup now of liquid. The next time, to make it easier for yourself, you can just leave it all together.
You know what? I was even gonna do that, and I didn't.
Next time you'll know, you'll just have to call me or text me and say, should I? Shouldn't I? It's all good. There's no harm done, but you're going to use vegetable or chicken broth for that rice. Probably 3/4 of a cup. The nice thing about soaking it overnight is that it's basically the rice has soaked up a lot of the fluid or the liquid. So then it actually germinates the rice, and then you can do the same thing with beans and lentils. If you want it to cook faster, soak it overnight. So now you should have put pretty much everything into that pot with the cranberries, right? Did you get everything in there? So it should be the apples, the spices, the celery, and the onions. And you're just going to mix it all together in that pot. And just let it continue simmering for the next, I think it's 15 minutes. So this is doing its thing, and you can definitely cover it if you prefer. Or you can do it open. But you're going to keep it on that low simmer for 20 minutes, maybe 15. And let all the flavors blend together. Make sense? Everybody following?
Why don't you use the chop?
So now while we're waiting for the rice to cook, I don't know if I got a green bean hiding in there. Oh well. I'm gonna have a green bean in my rice. Maybe I should fish that one out. Not sure exactly how I got a green bean in my rice. They weren't anywhere near each other. But that'll probably take a good 10-15 minutes as well. So let's see. Let's make the Brussels sprouts first. You guys have the Brussels sprouts all ready? Yes, no?
No.
So you're gonna turn on another pan, heat up another pan. I'm gonna move my my chutney to the other burner so that you can see what I'm doing. Put that on simmer, and you're gonna heat up a big frying pan because we're gonna make the roasted Brussels sprouts in the pan. Which means that I have to start chopping Brussels sprouts. Because I was not a good student and I did not chop everything ahead of time. But I'm gonna let that pan heat up a little bit, put a little bit of my butter in there, or the ghee, and put some of the olive oil in here. And just let that heat up. Then I'm going to chop my Brussels sprouts. So I'll give you a little demonstration of how I do it. And this one's huge. So I'm going to cut it in half and then slice it into smaller pieces. So you'll definitely need a big knife in order to do this. Otherwise you won't have the ability to cut through it quickly. So you're going to be doing probably 2 cups of the Brussels sprouts. So you chop the bottom off, and then I typically flip it on its top, and then slice it into these, 1/2 inch or smaller, skinnier slices. And once the pan heats up, we're going to throw some of the onions in. We're going to chop up that 1 small onion into that, or 1/2 of a monster onion like I have. And what you're gonna do is, you're gonna cook this one and saute it little by little. But we're gonna caramelize everything. I need to turn my heat up because it's not doing anything. I wanted the onions to sizzle when they went into the pan, and they didn't. So I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna turn the heat up just a tad and let the pan sizzle. Let the onion sizzle. I think that's probably the correct terminology. So I'm just gonna move this over so that you can see what the heck I'm doing. And
The stuff you're putting in the pan right now.
I'm putting onions and the Brussels sprouts.
Okay, what kind, did you put oil or anything in the pan?
I put oil, I put olive oil and a little bit of butter.
Okay.
Then I'm just gonna be cutting my Brussels sprouts. Now that the onions are starting to sizzle, at least on my end, it takes a little while to heat up the pan to the right temperature. But if you're on the gas stove, it's probably medium, and on electric stove, you're probably on high. But I actually am going to, as I chop the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to put them into the pan as well. And I'm getting some really big Brussels sprouts. Good grief. You're gonna have to cut them in half. This thing. It's like a little cabbage. Then we're also gonna throw some garlic into here. Everything obviously is better with garlic, right?
Chop that up real quick.
So I seeded and bought peeled garlic. And I'm gonna take a couple of the big cloves and I'm gonna put I'm gonna put 3 big cloves of garlic into my pan with the Brussels sprouts. I'm just gonna cut the end off and just dice the garlic and put them into small slices. And throw that all into the pan with the Brussels sprouts. I'm gonna throw it in as I do it. And again, I'm just gonna hold the garlic on the side and use the knife. Cut it into smaller pieces. And we're trying to caramelize the Brussels sprouts and the onions. So we're gonna be stirring it once every 3 to 5 minutes. And now that I have garlic all over my fingers, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of stir everything around here. And then I'm gonna continue cutting more Brussels sprouts. An alternative way to do the Brussels sprouts is you can actually just put all of this into a baking tin or a container. And just do it all, put it in the oven at 325. Make sure it's really well coated with the olive oil, otherwise it might burn. And then put like 2 tablespoons of the, what do you call it? The vegetable broth in it, just so that it can kind of steam cook it too. So there's lots of ways of doing the same thing. But we're going to make sure that we cook these and at least get them a little bit caramelized. And I forgot to get pumpkin seeds, so I'm going to use walnuts.
Where do they go? Where do the pumpkin seeds go?
They're going in the Brussel sprouts.
Okay.
Here's the.
And if you're like me, I thought I had them, so I didn't buy them. And then I looked and I had them. So I'm gonna just use walnuts. And if you don't have the dates, then you can just use raisins. That's going in here too. And sometimes you actually have to put a little bit more olive oil into the pan, depending on how your Brussels sprouts are doing. So I am actually going to pour another teaspoon or tablespoon over my Brussels sprouts, just so that they cook better. You should start noticing you should be stirring it now. You should notice that some of it is getting caramelized and brown. That's what you want. Okay? So now I'm gonna put some salt and pepper on it. Because everything tastes better with a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm gonna cut two more Brussels sprouts here. All right, I'm done with the Brussels sprouts. With chopping. I'm just gonna keep stirring it a little bit now to try to get the pieces that are all caramelized off the bottom so that they don't burn. And now we're gonna put in our quarter cup of either walnuts or the pumpkin seeds, and a quarter cup of either raisins or chopped dates. Again, take that big knife on that same cutting board. It's kind of nice that we're not doing any of the meats right now, because then we can just keep using the same cutting board. And we don't have to wash it in between. We can just use the same knife for the vegetables as well as the nuts. Who would have thought? It's making it a little bit easier. But you want to kind of dice the nuts and chop them up and then just put them in. I have some mendool dates where I'm gonna have to cut them, pull the pit out, and chop them up. So I'm just gonna use 3 of those, cut it into quarters, lengthwise, and then chop the dates that way. And then I'll throw that into the pan.
Great. I'm focusing right now.
You guys following along?
Ah,
I'm just gonna have to eat that one. And it's too big. And you know, if you want to make this again, the Brussels sprouts, you can always add bacon to it as well. And then you chop the bacon into the pan right at the beginning, and you'll get that bacon fat flavor right into it. All right. Now we're going to stir this up one more time. So they should be caramelizing pretty well. How are yours doing?
Not even in the pan.
You need another pan?
I need a bigger stove.
I barely have anything in the pan.
We need a commercial kitchen. That's what you need. We need a commercial kitchen.
Pretty much.
I need a sous chef.
Yeah, isn't
Your
that?
husband.
Where's your husband at?
So while you're waiting for those Brussels sprouts to cook, I want you to stir the cranberry.
It's always MIA. MIA.
And the beauty of the cranberry chutney is that in 5 minutes we get to turn the thing off, and then you're done.
Are you talking about me again?
Yeah, I'm talking about you not helping.
Because I was at the dentist that somebody made me go to.
Where.
Right? Right?
Oh, telephone tough guy, huh?
I should have heard them this that I actually had to go to the dentist.
Now I'm gonna check the rice to see how it's doing, and cooking away. Mine has still quite a bit of liquid in it, so I might actually leave it.
Hey, tough guy, get back here and start.
But I'm gonna try a little bit of it just to see how it is. Still gonna take a little while to cook. So the white rice is only halfway cooked. Now what we're gonna do, if you want the Brussels sprouts to cook a teeny bit faster, you're gonna take that vegetable broth that you had and put 2 tablespoons of that at the most into the pan with the Brussels sprouts and cover it.
What's the apple cider and the mustard for?
Was there apple cider and mustard for this?
Somewhere.
It's a Dijon mustard and raw apple cider vinegar.
Oh. And we're putting mustard and raw apple cider vinegar in here. Sometimes I forget my own recipe, you know what I mean? Okay, I'm getting my mustard off. And I was going to use the vegetable broth to kind of give it a little bit of, what do you call it? All right, my mustard's not coming out. So that the Brussels sprouts would actually steam themselves the rest of the way, you know what I mean? So we'll put that in, and then we're gonna put a splash of that raw apple cider vinegar in. I'm gonna use lemon juice because I don't know where my raw apple cider vinegar is. And then I'm gonna still put in a tablespoon of the broth and stir it all together.
And we're using the apple cider vinegar, right?
Yeah, you're using raw apple cider vinegar. I'm using a little bit of lemon juice because I don't have the raw apple cider vinegar. So you're only putting a tablespoon of that in, and also a tablespoon of the mustard and a tablespoon of the
Chicken broth.
broth. Okay. So you're just gonna put that all together. It looks pretty darn good, that's for sure.
It does.
But the key
It does look
thing
good.
is you want to, you know, we want it to caramelize the vegetables to give them that extra flavor. And just to guarantee that it's going to cook completely, that's why I add a little bit of the liquid into it. Now we're just going to cover it. I finally got myself a cover for my pan. It's pretty impressive once you get a pan that actually works right, or with a lid. It's much, a lid is much better than upside down baking sheet.
I was gonna say, in a pinch.
Well, do you remember how I did that a month ago?
Yeah.
In a pinch.
Yeah. So it's trying to find, because this is a Teflon pan. I'm trying to find a lid that's a 12-inch lid. On the Teflon side, I couldn't find it to save my life. I put in 12-inch frying pan lid. I don't know how their search algorithm works, but I was so frustrated because I was there for 10 minutes and I think I saw 3 lids. So I ended up going on Amazon, and somehow I found a 12-inch lid for $12, including free shipping. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll take it now. You know, and it looks nice. I mean, it's a Teflon that goes with a Teflon, so it all matches. But if you've got the gas stove, we're gonna turn this off in a minute. If you have the electric stove, you can turn it off because the element will continue cooking. So you can go ahead and take it off and just let it steam the rest of the way.
We're taking the cranberries off.
No, we're gonna take the cranberries off. We're gonna just clean that off because we don't have to do anything with that anymore. It's basically done. Now all you gotta do is let it cool.
Cranberries maybe to cook on. We have like double the amount, so.
Now you just let it cool. And later, either tonight or tomorrow, you can put it into jars and basically can it. Make sense?
Yeah.
How much mustard did you put in?
Pardon me?
How much mustard did you add?
A tablespoon.
Okay.
Somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon. I didn't have that much, so mine was not wanting to come out of the jar. So I'm hoping I got a tablespoon out of it, but I can't be sure. I think I'm just gonna get a jar instead of a squeezable kind. And now, because we have so much room on our range, I'm trying to figure out, because we actually need a pan to make the stuff to go with the what do you call that stuff, with the wild rice. So I'm trying to decide where to put this pan, and I am going to put it on top of the cranberry. There, I'll just put it there. And I'm going to find myself another pan.
Yeah.
The Brussel sprouts can go on top of the cranberries.
So I have another pan, and I'm going to let that heat up. I'm going to use an omelet pan. I think that's what I need. That heat up and put some of the butter and the olive oil into that pan. And this is where we're going to put we're going to saute some of the onions, celery, carrots, for the stuffing. So I'm going to chop the ends off the carrots and dice them up.
She said carrots. She said carrots.
2 carrots.
Joanna, you didn't say carrots.
All right, then no carrots. Forget the carrots.
I have carrots, I just didn't have it on my list.
And I'm gonna dice mine up kind of small, just because I think they're gonna work better. And then we're gonna have to cut up another onion, unless you've already cut up your onion. And then I'm gonna put that in here. I did tell you cranberries, or I mean onion and celery in here too, right? Or no?
Yeah.
I don't
Alright,
know.
there's supposed to be one stalk of celery in this one too. So,
I don't know.
and I'm gonna chop mine up really, really finely for this one. And then onion, yes, that's what I need. Onion. I'm gonna peel that onion. And I'm gonna dice this pretty small too. Peel the extra skin off. I'm gonna use actually both half of my whole onion, even though it's a big onion. Because I think the onion will give a nice flavor. Especially if it gets browned in the pan. So I'm gonna dice half of my onion and then I'm gonna just cut the other one in wedges. In the half moons. And I'm gonna use that big ass knife and cut these into small pieces. Hope I don't chop my finger off. All right. So I'm putting the onions into that pan too. And just letting it all caramelize. And I'm putting this half of the onion into the small half moons and really, really thin. Now I'm gonna put that in here too.
Do the chestnuts need to be chopped up, Joanna?
The what?
Chestnuts, do they need to be chopped up?
I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you. Let me turn up my speaker.
Do
Can
the
you repeat
chestnuts,
it?
do the chestnuts need to be chopped up?
The chestnuts do need to be chopped up, which is what we're gonna do now. Because they're gonna go into this pan too. Like how many stirring utensils do we have? So we definitely want to brown all this and let it caramelize so that it has the flavor that we need to go with the chestnut and the wild rice. Then we're gonna, after we put the chestnuts in, and you're basically just gonna dice them up however you want. You don't have to be particular. But you'll need I have these 3.5 ounce packages, so I'm gonna use 2 of them to start with. See how that works. So what I'm gonna, I think I've figured out the way I'm gonna chop these little chestnuts. So similar to like the so I'm gonna chop the chestnuts into 3s, and I don't know if you can see this. Maybe I'll just chop it into 3s and then turn it sideways and chop it in or slice it. So I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna hold it on its side, cut it into 3s, turn it on its other side, and then as I slice them, I'm just gonna throw them into that pan. So I'm just gonna cut the chestnut in 3, turn it to the side, and then slice it into smaller pieces.
What's going
You
on
guys
with the
following
rice?
along?
What's going on with the rice?
I don't know, let's find out. My rice still has a little bit of liquid at the bottom.
What was I supposed to put?
Another 5 minutes in. Mine's still a little bit crunchy. So it's still gonna need another 5-10 minutes to cook. But it's still gonna take less than what it would take if we started with raw, completely raw rice. And I'm gonna stir mine here. I'm gonna stir my onions and carrots and celery. And now chestnuts. And I'm gonna save the onions that fell to the edge because they need to join the party. So with the rice, the other thing that's interesting with this stuffing is you're supposed to actually put the whole thing, mix it all together, put it into a pan, and then put it into the oven for an hour. Or not for an hour, but for 20 minutes. So this could be something where you prep it now, and then you can finish making it on Thursday.
Perfect.
That's 1 packet of chestnuts. Now to the next one.
Are we putting the sage in there too?
We are gonna put the sage in there too. Yeah.
Is that gonna be chopped up or are we just putting it in as a leaf?
Do you have powdered?
Gina actually has fresh.
Then you're gonna, that's a good question. You're gonna have to chop that up.
All right, I'll get that.
I mean, the other thing you could do is leave it whole and then you can kind of fish it out later. And I'm gonna put a little bit more oil in mine because mine's sounding like it doesn't have anything to saute in.
Yeah, I think the nuts soaked up the oil and the butter.
I think the onions, everything soaked it up, so I'm just gonna stick a little bit more olive oil in there and let it just, last thing we want is, burnt onions. The original recipe for this wild rice and wild stuffing thing was to we actually were supposed to buy raw chestnuts and roast them and peel them. And I said, not on my life. We're not playing that.
I did that once and it was a lot of work.
I did that once as well. And I said, you know what? Once, I try almost anything once because I won't try bungee jumping and skydiving. But that was one where I tried it once and I said, you know what? That's just too much work.
Yeah, exactly.
So luckily the
Especially when
grocery
you eat a lot.
store at this time of year, the grocery store typically has chestnuts. So I think 2 packages is probably going to be enough of the chestnuts. So for me, that's 7 ounces. How's yours looking?
Good.
So we're gonna once I finish these 3 other chestnuts, then I'm gonna go with the spices, which is the thyme and sage. And then of course we have to put salt and pepper in there too, because everything always tastes a little bit better with a little bit of salt and pepper. But I wonder if you could actually put it all into the pan or put it all back into the pot where the rice is.
Fish.
Just cook it in the pot rather than putting it in the oven. That's the question that I can't answer, but I'm sure we can do that instead of putting it into a baking dish and. So Steve, I think you're right. Those chestnuts do absorb that oil. But you should see that that it's getting pretty caramelized. How's yours looking?
Good.
That's what mine looks like so far. And then you can see that there's some of the carrots and the onions and everything else are getting caramelized, which is what we want.
There's mine.
Awesome. Looks just like mine. The same thing.
Our green beans are just about done too.
No, I never turned mine on. Whoops.
When were we making the green beans?
I was gonna turn them on now.
I'm cutting mine now. I didn't remember hearing any green beans.
Well, if you don't have green beans, that's okay.
No, I have them. I just didn't do anything with them yet.
I just threw them in the pot with water.
Lunchtime. And then I put them in a pot.
Not any more
I
big
put them in a
pots.
pot with the steamer. So that way they'll just cook.
Well, I'll do them later.
Yeah, do them later. That's the way that we're going. I'm not sure we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna get to the green beans and the almondine.
We have the foul, Captain.
We need to hear it here. We're ringing the bell. We got 4 more minutes, right?
Right. Not gonna happen.
Nope.
How long were you
Right.
supposed to cook the? What do you call it?
The rice should be about cooked now. Mine, all the water evaporated.
So
So
mine.
I'm going to pour that rice, or the majority of it into the pan.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We have that.
Make sure you turn the burner off. Oh, I didn't put the spices in. Thyme, sage, salt, and pepper. We're putting that in here. And you're putting in tablespoon of sage. So I'm just gonna be eyeballing it and being liberal. Because the sage will go actually really well with chicken or turkey. And then we're putting in I guess we're not putting in. No, yeah, we are at half a teaspoon of thyme. Right. And then we're gonna put our salt. And some of our pepper. And then we're gonna add a little bit more butter into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're actually gonna add some butter into here. So you're gonna put 2 pats of butter in. And then stir it all together. So the challenge is going to be to stir it all together without spilling it. I just did. It's like the wild rice wants to jump out of the pan. Well, it is wild. It's going to do what it wants, right?
True.
All right.
Did you feed him?
Pardon me?
Yeah, go eat dinner. Go eat dinner. Mommy watch it.
Well, it smells good. Now that I've got the sage and the thyme in here,
Yeah.
it really smells amazing. So this, I think this is going to be, you know, maybe a new tradition so that you don't have to have gluten in the stuffing. Because gluten is going to be inflammatory. It's very heavy. And wild rice is actually alkalizing and easy to digest. Well, that looks good to me. Technically, it's supposed to cook again for another 20 minutes. So this could be something that you could just leave on the stove. You could transfer it back to where you cook the rice. Add maybe a little bit of liquid in there, maybe even some cream, and then just allow it to continue cooking.
That's what the rice.
Yeah. Because this is definitely one of those classes where we have so many options.
So
I'm just gonna leave it in this pan.
Are we keeping it? Are we keeping the rice cooking?
Technically, the original recipe says you're supposed to.
Okay, and are we putting anything?
Are
we putting any more in it?
I am going to try it because I'd like to know what it tastes like. Even though it's very hot, so it's gonna take a second. As far as I'm concerned, it's ready.
That's good.
Yeah. So you could actually put a little bit, you know, another tablespoon or 2 of the broth and just kind of let it simmer. But technically the recipe says you're supposed to put it in the oven now for 40 minutes. I don't think it needs to be in the oven for 40 minutes. I think it's perfect the way it is.
Right, so, right, so you know the chicken stuff in there right now, or?
Yeah, you might as well.
That is really good. Now we have to try our Brussels sprouts too. So I'm gonna leave that. That was really good. Now I'm gonna move that pan over. Now I'm gonna try the Brussels sprouts. You guys want to try your Brussels sprouts too?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're gonna try a teaspoon or a tablespoon of the chutney. And as it continues to cool, it'll get thicker. So don't be concerned that it's still kind of runny. But it's gonna be really hot because those cranberries are really hot.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, what?
The
Is it good?
Brussels sprouts, good.
Excellent. I'm gonna grab more of this stuffing. This wild, you know, you could even put that into the chicken or into the turkey if you wanted to.
All right.
And I think at this point it's like, okay, we've reached our hour. But I'm gonna take a picture of this because it's just and the green beans almondine might have to wait. Or do you want to still make the green beans almondine?
Well, the green beans are cooked.
Okay, so all you're basically doing is browning some butter in a small saucepan and putting the slivered almonds in there and toasting them in there and then pouring it on the green beans.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty simple. And we can stay and do that as well if you want to.
Yeah, we can do it on the side.
Oh, those Brussels sprouts did turn out really good. Did you try the chutney yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Now, did I tell you it's the healthier side? Now you'll feel better. More flavors than normal.
There's that. There's our chutney.
And if you do the cranberries actually with the other two, it actually gives it a nice little zing. I found that the cranberry chutney goes with the turkey, it goes with the sweet potatoes, it goes with the vegetables, goes with everything. And if you put it into a jar and you kind of use it at like canning, it'll last for over a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You put it on a, do you like what room temperature do you have to store it in? Room temperature or in the freezer?
I put them in the refrigerator.
Fridge? Okay.
Yeah, but I have a couple jars where what I'll do is I'll take a bowl, I'll take a container and boil some water and kind of sterilize the bottles or the jars and the lids, then fish them out, put it all in, and then seal it. And it typically will hold, you know, for a year, sometimes even 2, if I didn't make enough or give enough away. But it's one of those where once you open it, it'll still last a good 2-3 weeks. But in that canned version, it'll last at least a year, maybe even more. But I do keep it in the refrigerator once I can it.
Okay.
But that way,
They all taste good all together.
and you'll have it for next year.
Everything mixed together tastes really good.
Yeah, glad you like it.
It was very good.
Excellent. So so now I know I can only make 3 things in an hour. I can't make 4.
It's very optimistic.
I was totally optimistic and I'm like, man, this is going to be an hour and a half if I get it all done. And it's like, I think if I were having guests coming over, I would actually still make the green beans and pull out another pan, melt the butter. Kind of, you want to melt the butter and get it a little bit of brown, throw in the slivered almonds because it's got to be sliced. And they'll toast a little bit and then you drizzle that on top of the cooked green beans. And it's a very delicate timing that if you have it a little bit, if you have it on the heat, the butter on the heat a little bit too long, it'll go from just barely tanned to burnt in like,
To burn in a second.
yeah,
Mhm.
Like the
Like if
same
you
thing with
blink-
milk.
yeah. If Steve asks you a question, Gina, you'll burn it, you know?
Yeah.
If you just take your eyes off for a second, you're
In there,
done.
done that.
Yeah, and then
Like
something
it's like
where
garlic. Yeah.
we've all done it, so just be prepared that and same thing with the nuts. You don't want to keep them on there for more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'll be burnt to a crisp and the whole thing has to be thrown away.
Yeah, it's like when you burn garlic, it goes from like nutty to like burnt in like a second.
Yeah. Same thing with butter and almonds and pine nuts. I ended up, the first time I did pine nuts, it was the same thing. I charred them.
Yeah, I burnt them.
Yeah. So if you've all done that, that's all you need to do for the green bean. And happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoyed today's class. I don't know what the next class is going to be, but keep an eye out for the next cooking fun with Joanna as we explore who knows which part of the world and which cuisine, and what the excitement's going to be for December. Is it the 7th? No, 8th. I think it's December 8th. And then next year I'm going to go to the 1st and 3rd Thursdays. First and third Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be easier for you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Supposedly, I'm still working from home until March, so all good.
All right. It's all good. Exactly.
Yeah.
So enjoy whatever we made. Happy Thanksgiving.
You
Enjoy
too.
the food you
Yes,
made
happy
today, tomorrow,
Thanksgiving.
and on Thanksgiving.
You too.
And I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.